Nokia's 5800 was hailed as being its flagship music handset, but just after a mere few weeks on the shelves, it just wasn't the big hit that Nokia were hoping for. We've now got the Symbian-powered X6, which, if we're being honest, is still pretty underwhelming, but a far sight better than the 5800, with an improved capacitive touchscreen and social networking features. It's also a lot sleeker, but sadly just doesn't have a particularly dazzling design, and it feels a little bit cheap. It still sports the Express Media home screen, complete with the contacts bar, so you can scroll through up to 20 of your favourite contacts, complete with thumbnail. And like we've seen before, you'll be able to pull up all your contact info such as call history, text messages, picture messages, emails, as well as access shortcuts to call, write a message, grab RSS feeds. And if they're OV users, you'll be able to share info and grab details of all your friends' latest downloads and general OV activity. Now, like the majority of touchscreen phones, the home screen is customisable for direct access to your most used features and applications, such as push email. Now, this layout can be changed, so for example, if you don't want the shortcut bar at the bottom, you can move it to the top, although unlike the contacts bar, there'll be no scrolling as there's only room for 4, which is pretty disappointing. But there is another shortcut option. Now, it's easy to miss this, but in the top right corner, there's a touch-sensitive button that will open up a menu for direct access to things like the music store, the web, and a few other key features, which is nice and handy. There's a few hard keys at the bottom as well. The outside two are pretty obvious. The middle one will take you to and from the home page. Now, as it comes with music handset, it's pretty good to have direct access to the music store, which can be accessed via Wi-Fi or HSDPA, especially as you will have no choice but to sign up to a Comes With Music subscription. But on a more positive note, that means you'll get a year's worth of downloads that are yours to keep even after the subscription ends. Now, as a music handset, you'd expect it to have pretty decent speakers, which it does, but it's not without its flaws. Now, when you're listening to particularly heavy or bassy music, it doesn't handle it particularly well, but generally should leave you pretty satisfied. Now, moving on to the touch screen, and like I mentioned earlier, unlike the 5800, it's capacitive with haptic feedback, and it works pretty well, and it's nice and responsive, so you shouldn't have any complaints in that department. Now, of course, this is nothing new, but it's the first time that Nokia is bringing it to one of its handsets. This means there's a much better web experience on offer than the 5800. Now, while we're talking about the web, we do have a few negatives. For example, some web pages can take a while to load up, which is a little bit annoying and will trigger your impatient side. Another annoying trait is that when some pages appear, they're off-center. And lastly, if the page is particularly information heavy or with busy flash elements, this sometimes will freeze your web browser, which we don't need to tell you is really, really annoying. Now, you won't find a card slot, but there is 32 gig of internal memory. That makes it a viable alternative to your iPod. There's also that all-important 3.5mm jack and a 16:9 widescreen with a screen resolution of 640 by 360 pixels, which, as you can see, is a real pleasure to look at. On the back, you'll notice a 5-megapixel camera with Carl Zeiss lens, autofocus and an LED flash, which is decent enough, but not enough to put the fear into all the 12-megapixel camera phones that are currently out on the market. But you can get your pictures online in a few simple taps to sites such as Flickr and Ovi. You can geotag them as well, giving a firm nod to its AGPS functionalities. Now, I do have a few gripes with the handset. For example, there's often a short pause before certain features open, and that annoying red dot appears just to let you know you'll be waiting a while. Now, of course, a few seconds in real time isn't very long, but on a phone with a decent processor, you'd expect it to be a bit quicker than that. I experienced it with Gallery, Camera, Music Shop, especially when loading videos. Now, don't worry, it's not so slow that you're going to feel compelled to smash it against the wall. It's just not as fast as some of the mobiles out there. Now, while we're being negative, typing is a bit of a challenge as well, especially as there's no slide-out keyboard, despite looking like it should have one. A nice feature on the X6 is its Playlist DJ, which will generate a playlist for you based on what mood you're in. So if you're feeling particularly angry, just tell your phone and it will generate a moody playlist using the songs in your library. Now, we also like the direct access to subscribe podcasts, as well as a range of websites such as YouTube, Facebook and MySpace. Of course, this is nothing new, but it's nice to know that it's there. So overall, this mid-range phone is pretty bog standard with no hidden tricks up its sleeve. It's basic, but at least there's an improved touchscreen and a much better design than its predecessor. And it's easy to use, which is great for those of you who don't like complications. Sadly, its design is still lacking that wow factor, but it should satisfy those of you who like entertainment, music, and social networking on the move.